Okay, well, we're taking a look at Bradford Park Avenue and our other non-league teams across the region. And I'm delighted to say joining us as ever is Lewis Sale. Lewis, how you doing, mate?
Not bad, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Now, it was interesting. Last week's show, we did speak about Bradford Park Avenue. How many points did we want them to get from the next couple of games? I think we said four. We'd be really happy with four. But they did better than that, didn't they?
Even happy with six?
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
yeah, it's a superb return. The team that we've got, and I mentioned it countless times, we're a young bunch who, thrive on confidence, and once we get a bit of a run under the belts, we look a good team. We can match a lot of people in this division. Um, and at the moment, we seem to be in that patch where we are. Obviously, starting off at Buxton, to come back the way that we've done, 2 goals in the final 2 or 3 minutes into added time to win the game is exceptional. I think to be, when you're losing 2-1 with a few minutes ago, I mean, you're kind of thinking, oh, it's going to be a tough one, is this one? And if you get a point, it'd be a fantastic result. But to not only get a point, to get threes, a magnificent achievement. And I think that shows the character of the players at the moment and almost the mentality as well. Because when they scored a second goal, Ollie Johnson was kind of telling his players, "Come on, we can win this." And I think that's the difference where they're not satisfied with just a point. Three's even better and deservedly get the three in the end. And I think that pushes you on to the midweek game against Telford, which I think was a real tough game. I think people might have looked at the position of Telford in the league and were hoping for almost a comfortable victory, but it was far from that. Telford won at the weekend previous to the game on Monday. We're arguably the better team in the first half. We just didn't settle at all. We didn't have any rhythm of play. But it was just that one moment in front of goal that we took our chance. And I mean, people get bored of hearing me say it, but you take your chances, you win games, and we were better in the box. And I think Telford could have and probably should have taken the lead at half time and we're 1-0 up. In the second half, we saw it out really well. It wasn't convincing. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the fluid football that you love to see. But it's almost them kind of wins, really scrappy, gritty, committed performances that get you that 1-0 win. And it's sometimes they can feel a little bit more rewarding, I think, than almost blowing teams away.
Yeah, absolutely. And that league position now just looks so much healthier, doesn't it? Up to 17th, which 2 months ago just didn't look like a possibility, did it?
No, it wasn't at all. And I think, like I say, we've got 3 points in the first 10 games. I think we're now looking up rather than behind us, which is a positive. Don't get me wrong, you're always looking over your shoulder a little bit because we've played a lot more games than teams in and around us. But I'm not just saying it because we've got where we are, and it's always nice to be out of them bottom four positions, but it doesn't really count for much at the moment. I think it only counts really in the last 2 3 months where you almost get a feel of what you need to do to stay in that division or push on further up the table or playoffs or whatever that position is at the time. But yeah, I mean, you look at it, we can't argue where we are, and I think that's testament to the place to get us from such a sticky situation in the first 10 games to be, almost pushing towards mid-table, and that's where we need to be at the end of the season, and we're capable of doing it when we've got the full team available.
Yeah, I mentioned to our Halifax town correspondent Tom Scargill as well. I mentioned about your tweet putting out about how Halifax and Bradford Park Avenue stuck with their managers during
Mm.
sticky spells earlier in the season, and now you can see for both teams how it's working out. Halifax on a great run as well.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't work for every team, and sometimes a bit of change can do some good in certain circumstances. But for me, selfishly looking at Avenue, we've not been, how can I put it? We've not been challenging the right end of the table for the past couple of seasons, few seasons. It has been a really tricky time, but especially at the beginning of the season, when questions are asked, and probably rightly so. But from that points return that I mentioned earlier to now having 16 from the last 10, and you look at Halifax, I saw them a couple of times during pre-season, and they had the ingredients to have a good team and have a successful season. And the first 10 games, people were kind of questioning what Halifax could do, despite getting having a good season last season. and now 20 points from the last 10 pushes them right up into almost the top five of recent form. So I personally speaking, I think having a bit of patience, having a bit of faith in your management team that you've stuck by, can go a long way, because it's almost, why would you employ me in the first place to do what we need to do? And any start of a season is a really tricky one for regardless of who you are. But I think clubs like Avenue, you've just got to be consistent. You've got to, almost back your man and see what you can do. If it comes to a point, like I say, where there might be a time when you think enough's enough, but for us, we could have quite easily pulled the plug on Bauer and Boschel, and I don't think it would have done us any good. I could be proven wrong by the end of the season, but I ultimately think that, they give us the best chance to stay in this division at this moment in time. And you only have to watch and look at the results that we had in the past 10 games, and we're in the top 10. For a club like ours, with the budget that we've got, with the, limited resources and, quite a thin squad we've got, to be in the top 10 of the National League North when there's teams who are full time, and budgets far bigger than ours, is pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah, absolutely. In other big news with the club as well, club legend Adam Novakovsky is leaving the club.
Mm.
I mean, what can you say about his time at the club and what a legend he is there? I mean, you put a great tweet out about everything he's done there, and you were mentioned on the club website. How do you sum up his time and his connection with Avenue?
Where do I start with Nova? I mean, how long have you got? I think it's a podcast in itself, to be honest, the stories that I've got of Nova. What can I say? It's nothing what I've really not said earlier in the week, but he's one of the most genuine football people that you know. And I think for anybody to not only play at this level for as long as he has done, has shown he's been a good footballer first and foremost. There's no hiding that fact. But from a personal perspective, and to almost give something back to a career that he's dedicated to, and has also given him a lot of memories, to play for £1 a week for the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's just unheard of. I think for somebody to do that at this level is remarkable, and I think for him to play such an important part of a team that, let's be honest, probably not in the last year or two always on the pitch, but I think his character, his personality has really brought everybody together in such a difficult time. We talk about COVID, but also on the pitch when we've been struggling, to probably, like I say earlier, challenge the right end of the table. Nova's been a constant, despite some people maybe feeling a bit down and feeling sorry for themselves. Adam's always there to kind of pick you back up, and he's, like I say, he had a throne on the seat at the back seat on the away bus. Every away game we went, he had his place, he had his sayings. He would, honestly, for some of the stuff you can't even repeat, because it was just, it's one of those where you keep it on the away dates. It was just brilliant, and it galvanised people, both from the players, the staff, the supporters. If we were on the same bus, he's one of those people that it's really hard to replace in a dressing room. But also, I know I mentioned earlier, sometimes he's been a bit part on the pitch, but when he has come in, he's done a job, and I think that's been testament to how he's looked after himself. Obviously, he's got a really important job outside of football, but for him to play £1 a week and be fitting up from in midfield, in defence, he's been superb. And and I spoke to him on Monday night, and obviously when he came off, he were emotional, which is completely understandable. But the character of the lad was, to me, saying, let's wait and see what happens. I've still got my registration, and when we're playing teams who are big and physical, I might be coming back, because that's when I've been playing more often than not. And it's that kind of player and man that he is. So yeah, I mean, if he is listening, I think a lot of people will say, I wish him all the best, and I'm sure he will. We'll bump into him somewhere, and if not, then we're expecting a phone call and a WhatsApp message, because there could be days when you'd have 20 missed calls from Nova on your phone, and you're thinking, oh, what does he want now? So yeah, all the best to him. He will be missed, but I'm sure we'll see him soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. It's Kings Lynn up next, who flying high in the table, but had a surprise result against Farlsey, losing 1-0 there. How do you see that one going, Lewis?
Probably one of, if not the best footballing team in this division. But they have played a lot of games recently, obviously coming off the back of a superb FA Cup run. Obviously, they've hit a little bit of a block on Tuesday night at Farlsey. know, we'll probably speak about Farlsey later on because I mean that's a result which was spectacular, but probably one that it's a typical Farlsey result. I think when you go there with confidence, like I say, winning three in the bounce, Kingsley getting a few players back from injury, obviously trying to get over Tuesday, which they've probably not been used to losing a lot of games. They've got three games in hand towards the top of the table to get back to number one, but we're not going to get a lot of time from us. I think we like I say we've been young and energetic, we've been pressing, and importantly, like I say, when we've got a chance, we've taken it. And I don't think Kingsley are going to fancy taking on ourselves. Whereas I think we've got, it's not as if we've not. No, I'll be honest. I don't think we've got much to lose. To be honest, on Saturday, people are probably expecting Kingsley to win. We're going there, towards the bottom of the table. So for people, it looks like it's, kind of an easy result for Kingsley, but I don't see it like that. And I think we can go there with, not a lot of pressure on ourselves. We don't have to worry about a midweek game now because the Scarborough game's been changed to the Saturday rather than a Monday. So, we can go there and really give it our all. And I'm confident the lads can do it.
Indeed. And just moving on to Farlsey, like you say, unbelievable win. Much needed as well. I mean, we mentioned last week how they do pull a result every now and then, again, out the hat, just to kind of keep them ticking over, making sure they don't get cut adrift. But what a remarkable result.
A really good result. And I think even more so after the result that we suffered against Peterborough. I've watched, a couple of a bit of highlights and even from what Russ was saying after the Peterborough game where, I think he felt his team were really lucky to lose a game, which is a positive sign because he seems to be, he seems an honest bloke, really, to be fair, really good manager of his team. And for them to come off the back of that loss, host Kingsley on a Tuesday night, and to win in the style that they did, especially the first goal was a really well worked goal from the Celts and from Mulhern putting it away. And like I say, on the counter attack, when I've seen Farlsey, they're very dangerous. And I don't think people probably appreciate the quality that's gone into the work that they've done, especially this year. They switched to play up a lot, and like I said a couple of months ago, once they get behind the lines, Farlsey, they're a really tough team to stop. And I think almost it probably played into the hands a little bit of what Kingsley's style might be on Tuesday. So an amazing result. It's one that it's almost a bonus result because you're probably not expecting to maybe pick up 3 points against a team of the calibre of Kingsley, but it's one they'll definitely take, and it closes the gap between those that are above them and kind of stretches a little bit away from the bottom of the table as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Leamington up next for Farlsey, who not on a good run themselves, so possibly an opportunity for Farlsey to pick up back-to-back wins, maybe.
Yeah, it is an opportunity because I mean Leamington are one of those teams where they're always notoriously a really tough team to face. They're quite direct, quite strong. I mean Paul Holloran's done an amazing job down there at the breaks for a lot of years. But Farlsey themselves, again, will be really buoyed by that victory against Kingsley. And sometimes you get with Leamington, they almost a little bit of a roller coaster where they'll go on a real good run of form, and then they'll have a little bit of a dip, and then they'll pick it back up. And I think Farlsey might just be playing at the right time, and it's an important fixture for him because I think Farlsey will be probably targeting this game to get something out of.
Indeed. We're going to drop down a division now. We're going to have a look at Guiseley and Liversedge. We'll start with Guiseley. We've got Chris here as well. Chris, a cracking start for the new manager, Paul Phillips, as they beat Morpeth.
Yeah, very much so. I think I heard obviously the podcast last week when I couldn't make it on due to work, but Lewis made a good point that they really did need to kind of hit the ground running as a new management team in the circumstances, and they've done just that. Left it late, a bit of late drama to put in a rebound from a saved penalty, but yeah, the key thing is it's the result that's in the bag and 3 points for the Lions, really.
Yeah, I heard him. He did say it's not good for his grey hairs. Apparently, games like that. So, but I mean,
Who said that, Chris? Did Chris say that?
I think we all said it actually, me as well. I mean, they're not doing too bad. I mean, that's a great start for them there, Lewis, and this is exactly why he was brought in, wasn't it, to get results like this for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what did I say about Avenue and Halifax? Almost, sometimes a bit of patience and faith can go a long way into keeping your manager. We'll see what it looks like for Guiseley, whether it works out or not. But I think from the first game, again, it's a scrappy 1-0 win, which will take against a decent side against Morpeth, who, like I said, I think have probably underachieved at the moment, really. But it's important, I think, for any new manager to get off to a win. Like I say, I think still in the background, you're still going to get, people obviously voicing opinions about Ellis leaving, but all Phillips can do at the moment is just to win games, and there's nothing else he can really do apart from that, and hopefully convince people that he is the right man. Obviously, the powers that be at Guiseley think that's the case, and it'll be interesting to see how that materialises over the next 2 or 3 months. But yeah, it's a good start, and also, like I say, a last minute winner is always the best kind, as well as a fan, really, to really soak it up and enjoy that for the rest of the weekend.
Exactly. And Liversedge will round up everything non-league with them as well. They lost 3-0 to Whitby, a game where I think last week we thought they might have a chance. I know Whitby had won the previous game, but difficult result for them.
Yeah, it's a tough result, and it's it's a difficult one because it doesn't seem it's obviously been a scoreline suggests it wasn't a close result really at 3-0, and I think what makes it even harder for the lads at Sedge is that they weren't able to kind of bounce back a little bit on a Tuesday night because that was postponed. And I think sometimes when you do lose a game, that's important against the teams in and around you. The next thing you need to do is to kind of bounce back as soon as you can, and for that opportunity to be denied it almost, it could be quite easy to dwell on a result like that. But listen, they've got to somehow get themselves, kind of back on it. Really, they've got a massive game at the weekend away to Ashton, who are inconsistent themselves. It's almost a scene to win one, lose one, win one, lose one. So, Sedge need to get some results, especially the festive period coming up to make it count. But if they're not careful, they're going to be quite a few points adrift at the bottom, and it's a shame because, like I said, they've worked so hard to get into that division. They've got the quality of play to do it. They just need to be consistent and get on that run really quickly.
Indeed. Just before we let you go, Lewis, England-France quarter-final of the World Cup on Saturday. I've got to admit, I'm feeling kind of nervous, excited. I've no idea kind of which way this is going to go. I keep kind of in my head, I'm like, nah, France, they've got this, Mbappe. And then I'm like, oh, but it's England. We're looking good. What do you think, Lewis? How do you see it going?
At the moment, as we're speaking on Thursday, I'm pretty relaxed. I'm really relaxed. Not in terms of I think we're gonna win it or anything like that or lose it. I'm just pretty relaxed because I think if we get a result against France, I'm putting it out there, I think it's probably one of our greatest results in the World Cup since '66. I think that's going a long way, but I do think that's the case. Yeah. If we lose, it's a bit like, well, we could potentially be losing to one of the best teams in the competition. I think if you've asked me this question before the World Cup started, when you've got the likes of Pogba and Conte and Benzema into that team, I think, you really are looking and going, this is going to be a really tough ask. But I think the way that we've been playing it's been exceptional. I know that sounds exaggerated for some people, but I really do. I think we are the only team that's pretty much unbeaten in the competition at the moment. And I think from our perspective, like I said, the Senegal game, I mean, yeah, we were a little bit on edge, I think, for 15 minutes of that first half.
Yeah, that first, I'd say maybe even 20-25, actually, we looked a bit ropey, I thought.
Yeah, I think there were moments in there you start thinking, where's it going to go? But it's almost where we seem to, I think, it's hard looking in because we don't know the details, but it's almost like we were quite happy for them to have a little bit of possession because when you're on the counter press, we were probably the better team and it seemed to work out. But I think almost that invisible save from Pickford was, kind of changed the game a little bit for us. But I also say this, and I very rarely say this as an England fan, in that second half, I wouldn't say I was bored, but I was almost really happily relaxed watching that second half, being absolute non-event, because I've never been or watched us in a competition of this magnitude where I felt really relaxed and actually just felt like it was just going to coast away to a 3-0 victory. And I actually wanted to enjoy that moment. I don't think we're going to get that in the rest of the tournament. Especially, I mean, if somehow that's like that against France, I will be amazed. But I don't think we've got, again, I said this last week, I don't think we've got anybody to fear. I know, obviously, and rightly so, we're talking about Mbappe, who was amazing. But at the same time, we've got Jude Bellingham, we've got Foden, we've got Kane, who's just got on the score sheet, against Senegal. So it works both ways. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think it will be done in 90 minutes. I'm gonna say I think we might just do it. I think we might surprise a few people and just do it. But that's not to say that we're going to win it, because I think some of the teams around us are playing just as well as us and are peaking at the right time.
Yeah. Big question, Lewis, is what time's the Kings Lynn game kicking off?
Don't start about this one, because really, what's going to have to happen is it's kicking off at 3.
No,
it is kicking off at 3. Yeah, no, it's not been changed. So somehow we're going to have to watch the game either on our phones on the way back in the coach, or if we're able to somehow stop somewhere randomly near the Midlands or South Yorkshire somewhere, depending on what time it's done to watch the game. So it's going to be really difficult. I know.
Flynn is an absolute ball ache of an away day at the best of times, because it's just so far and so out of the way, and also so frankly miles away from civilization. I'll be surprised if you get phone signal there, Lewis.
I know, and I must admit, I was really, really hoping, for somehow they change the game. But I mean, yeah, and we're going to be on the coach as well. So, well, I mean, the thing is, I suppose if you're a home team, you'll probably want to make the most of it and keep the bar open and have your own supporters to watch it. But I think from a really selfish point of view, from our perspective, it isn't great, is it? Because even if it had swapped it to 12:30, I'm crazy enough to go to those games. So it'd have been up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6, I'd have done it. But, we're going to be, what, an hour and a half into the trip when the game kicks off?
What's their pitch like? Any chance of a waterlog, Jobby?
I mean,
well, it's supposed to be really cold, isn't it? It is supposed to be really cold.
Fingers crossed for you, Lewis, the game gets cancelled.
Oh, yeah, we'll be cancelled and we'll have to go to Kings Lynn on a Tuesday night. I mean, I don't know what's good. I don't know where the benefit is out of this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this is a club versus country debate, but this seems like a club versus country debate. Or fingers crossed for a frozen pitch.
I've never really hoped for a postponed game. Maybe Saturday might just be a little bit of a situation when I hope it might be frozen. And to be fair, it could stand a chance, because, like you say, I watched the interview even this afternoon from Kings Lynn, and I think even the 3G pitch was frozen at first thing in the morning. So it's going to be interesting. As long as they let us know in good time, I don't want to get down there and the game be postponed just before kickoff. Because if that is the case, then I think that'll just make a brilliant Saturday, won't it? Because even if it happens, we still won't probably be back in time for kickoff. Or we might just hit kickoff if we get back to Bradford in time.
Well, I've got one worse than that. So when the World Cup final is on, I'm due to be at a children's birthday party.
Oh, I can kind of match this.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
When the World Cup final kicks off, there's a strong chance currently, unless I have relationship breakdown in the next 10 days, that I'm supposed to be on a Santa special train ride bought for what would it be?
It's because we agree to these things in advance. We're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so I'll do that. That's fine.
I wasn't told until it was booked, so I'm fuming. It's all right. It's all well and good. Auntie Shirley a couple of weeks ago was like, it's fine. England won't make it to the final anyway. I'm there thinking, yeah, but even if it's like Argentina versus what could it be? Argentina France, that could be an absolute belter. I still want to watch it. It's a World Cup.
We've known each other a long time, haven't we, guys? Yeah. And this is a conversation that we didn't think we were ever going to have when we known each other about 8 years ago, did we?
No, no.
No, we did not.
Damn personal lives, bloody hell. Getting in the way of the football. Getting in the way.
What's happened?
No, it's all gone wrong. Lewis.
Fingers crossed for the frozen pitch, Lewis.
Cheers, guys. Awesome as usual. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks a lot, mate.
See you later.